is not a pleasant thought, but do you realize that no matter where you live, human slavery and trafficking are nearby? Hi, I'm Rex Rogers, and this is episode number 201 of Discerning What is Best, a podcast applying unchanging biblical principles in a rapidly changing world and a Christian worldview to current issues and everyday life. Slavery isn't a relic of pre-Civil War America. As of 2025, the most recent comprehensive estimate indicates that approximately 49.6 million individuals are subjected to modern slavery globally, encompassing both forced labor and forced marriage. An estimated 80% of trafficking victims worldwide are women and children. In the United States, victims of trafficking are almost exclusively immigrants, and mostly immigrant women. The average age of trafficking victims in the U.S. is 20, and in the U.S., immigrant women and children are particularly vulnerable to the deceptive and coercive tactics of traffickers because of their lower levels of education, inability to speak English, immigration status, and lack of familiarity with U.S. employment protections. Further, they are vulnerable because they often work in jobs that are hidden from the public view and unregulated by the government. Sophisticated transnational syndicates are notorious for using children to get single adult males not just across the border, but through Border Patrol processing. Once these men are granted a stay, they smuggle the children back across the border where they will continue to be trafficked. So the human trafficking issue and the illegal immigrant issue go hand in hand. Human bondage is daily life for millions of people worldwide, and it's getting worse. Many trafficking victims are lured into the system with the promise of legitimate jobs, while others are kidnapped or entrapped in a myriad of ways. They are enslaved and faced with violence and torture, including threats of death. Their lives become less than their own, and they are bought and sold as a commodity. For example, a young woman is tricked into traveling abroad for a job, but upon arrival, she's forced into prostitution. This is human trafficking. And if she's not allowed to leave or is forced to work under threat, it's also slavery. Both are an affront to Christian values and to human rights. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime reported a 25% increase in detected trafficking victims in 2022 compared to pre-pandemic figures from 2019. Notably, children accounted for 38% of all detected victims, with a significant rise in cases of forced labor and forced criminality. Human trafficking, also known as trafficking in persons, is a crime that involves compelling or coercing a person to provide labor or services, or to engage in commercial sex acts. The coercion can be subtle or overt, physical or psychological. Exploitation of a minor for commercial sex is human trafficking regardless of whether any form of force, fraud, or coercion was used. There is no single profile of a trafficking victim. Victims of human trafficking can be anyone regardless of race, color, national origin, disability, religion, age, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status, education level, or citizenship status. Now, in my 70s, there are times when I think that I understand man's inhumanity to man, that I've lived long enough to have grasped the capacity for sin in my own human nature, that I comprehend the depths of depravity to which humankind stoops in a world where Sodom and Gomorrah would feel no shame. But then discovery shocks me. I understand I don't understand. I've been blessedly sheltered from the levels of evil like Eisenhower and the Allies found in the Nazi death camps in 1945. Sinner saved by grace though I am, I've never been to a brothel. I've never walked in killing fields. I don't consort with murderers, violent psychopaths, pedophiles, or other sexual deviants. Yet I recognize right from wrong. I know it is sickeningly wrong to coerce, kidnap, hold captive, buy and sell, or otherwise force human beings made in the image of God to do anything against their will. I don't want to think about it, but to be a responsible Christian, I must. Slavery in all its worst forms hasn't gone away. Child labor and pornography, child soldiers, debt bondage and forced labor, sex tourism, genital mutilation, prostitution, and other forms of sexploitation, commercialized human organs, trafficking, and more. Sexploitation is exponentially profitable because one slave can be forced to offer repeatable experiences over many years, multiplying the abusive damage to the victim. In sum, 21st century slavery isn't much different from any other. It's not ultimately about sex or power. It's about treating human beings as cheap, disposable commodities in order to make money. Worldwide, about 800,000 are bought and sold annually in sex trafficking, according to the U.S. Department of State. 1 in 4 victims of modern slavery are children. 29% of trafficking victims around the world are men and boys, and 71% account for women and girls. 75%, 30.2 million, victims are aged 18 or older, while the number of trafficked children under the age of 18 is estimated at 25% or 10.1 million. The United States is a source, transit, and destination country for human trafficking. 79% of all human trafficking is identified as sexual exploitation. Some 2 million girls and boys kept in the commercial sex trade, according to UNICEF, with 100,000 teens trafficked annually in the United States, according to the FBI, an estimated 40,000 to 50,000 trafficked into the U.S. each year, estimated by the CIA. This is just sex trafficking. Figures for forced labor are equally egregious. Among the leading agencies focused upon Christian social and spiritual action, the Salvation Army's Initiative Against Sexual Trafficking, based at National Headquarters Alexandria, Virginia, the International Justice Mission in Washington, D.C., Sisters in Service in Rowell, Georgia, and Women at Risk International, WAR, founded in Rockford, Michigan by Rebecca McDonald, who serves as the president. These organizations and others like them are working against gendercide in what's now being termed the new abolition movement to rescue victims, bring traffickers to justice, and eradicate sex trafficking. They're urgently trying to save women, girls, and boys physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and economically. Or as WAR puts it, rescue, restore, redeem, and empower. Internationally, rescued women usually can't go home. The sad truth is that some global religions, and thus cultures, devalue, suppress, or oppress women. Girls are liabilities, a source of labor and income, sex or reproductive objects, nothing more. If they're rescued and sent home, they're rejected as damaged goods or even killed. In some cultures, daughters are expected to support the family any way they can. Prostitution is a frequent result. Sexploitation is globally endemic, but in Christ there is hope. When enslaved women ask, "Why do you care?" Christian rescue workers have an answer. Because we serve a God who values women, and we want you to know him. It is the most powerful and poignant thing these women have ever heard in their lives. Somebody respects them. Someone values them. In the letter of James, we're reminded, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Surely human slavery and trafficking are forms of distress that we must look after. Well, we'll see you again soon. This podcast is about discerning what is best. If you find this thought-provoking and helpful, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Download an episode for your friends. And for more Christian commentary, check my website, REXM as in Martin. It's rexmrogers.com. Or check my YouTube channel at Dr. Rex Rogers for more podcasts and videos. And remember, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm.